Hey everybody, it's Monday and we got all kinds of fun stuff going on. Matthew, let's talk about Jacob Bridgman, who won his first PGA title, 18 under. Things got kind of hairy there yesterday at the Genesis.
Yeah, he didn't really play his best shot one over, I believe, if my
Hmm.
memory is serving me correct. Opened the door for Rory to make a comeback, make it interesting there on the 72nd hole, but ultimately wound up coming back. And he really did it through his play the first 3 days.
Hmm.
He's the leader after round one, leader after round three. I don't think he was the leader after round two. I don't remember exactly. And for some reason,
Chihuahua was a leader after the second round.
yeah. So it wasn't wire to wire, but his play throughout those first 3 days really afforded him the leeway of that one over Sunday that he had,
Hmm.
and he played fantastic. Riviera is a tough golf course to get around.
Hmm.
It definitely was. I think it was interesting the way it played this past weekend because the first day you have those windy conditions and it was still soft, but you had the windy conditions. The second day it played pretty easily, and then towards the end of the tournament you started to get a little bit more of the normal Riviera type feel.
Hmm.
But it still played incredibly difficult, and you saw that by some of the guys that wound up getting cut, but you also
Hmm.
saw some very high scores there on Friday and Saturday.
Last year, and people may forget this, but it was played at the L.A. Country Club because of the fires in the Pacific Palisades. So this is it's been a year since I guess 2 years since it got back here. So good. It was good to see Riviera in its glory again.
Yeah, the just a little. They played it at Torrey Pines South last year.
Oh, did they? Okay, because I
Mhm.
know they had the L.A. Maybe that was a major. That's right.
Yeah, that was one of the U.S. Open venues a
Uh-huh.
few years back,
Having a
21.
little trouble with your mic there. Is it there's kind of scratching for some reason.
That's weird. I'm not really sure why.
Okay. Or it's like that, or you're shifting papers all over the place. Um, all right, let's. We got we got a Big Ten matchup tonight in basketball. It's 8 o'clock on FS1 from Pauley Pavilion. It's USC UCLA. The Trojans are 18-9. Uh, the Bruins are 18-9 also, but they UCLA has a 10-6 conference record, while the Trojans are hovering around that 500 mark. So it's a key battle for for a spot perhaps in the NCAA tournament between those two.
Yeah, I mean the Big Ten play is specifically with those out west teams. They've not fared well when
Hmm.
they've gone east. That's nothing new. Kind of learned that throughout football.
Right.
It's something that affects them, that travel schedule. But they kind of need a comeback. UCLA does at least. They had a game on, what was it? It was Saturday. They were playing Illinois,
Hmm.
and they actually ended up coming back and making it a game. I don't believe they wound up winning that, but oh, they did end up coming back.
Hmm.
So so beating Illinois, that was a big win. Illinois is ranked 10th in the country.
Hmm.
And I think it's good because it's a good juxtaposition against what they had when they went on the road to Michigan State earlier in the week. They were in Michigan State Tuesday.
Right.
That's when Mick Cronin self ejected the player.
Right.
That went after the media. PR firestorm, if you will, on Tuesday, and
Sure.
then you back it up, go home, and you win a big one.
Hmm.
And you win a big one at home against a top 10 team in the country. That does really good for your overall tournament hopes. Now you've got USC, and these are games that you have to win if you're going to make March Madness,
Hmm.
specifically this stretch run. And USC's not a bad basketball team. They've got Chad Baker Mazzara, and he's about 30 years old at
Mhm.
this point, so he's got plenty of experience on the floor. But if they want to make a run, this is where it has to start. And talk about Mick Cronin and where that and the type of coaching. We talked about the type of coaching on Friday a lot,
Mhm.
and it'd be interesting if they respond well tomorrow when they play at 11 p.m.
Mhm.
Um, then I think Mick kind of proves himself out and shows why he made the decision that he made because his basketball team would have responded very well at that point.
Mhm. And the thing is with USC and UCLA, it's always been kind of a funny flip, right? SC's been the football school, UCLA's been the basketball school,
Mm-hmm.
and there have been years. I mean, when Reggie Miller was out there, the SC played strong. Had some strong teams, and they've had some very strong teams in the past. I'm sorry, in the recent past, I should say. UCLA's been pretty consistent. And we'll see. I mean, it's UCLA is one of those blue bloods, and hopefully for them, they'll be able to pull through against SC tonight. Game again, 8 p.m. on FS1. There is a prelim to that, if we're going to call that the main event for the evening. Northwestern at Indiana. It's a 4 o'clock game, which is an odd timing game for a college basketball game, but it's Northwestern in Indiana. The reason, by the way, it's at 4 o'clock is because of the weather situation. Indiana comes in at 17-10, 500 in the conference play, hosting Northwestern. So Indiana's got a. We talked about UCLA and USC in a proving ground. Man, I'll tell you what. Indiana basketball has to try to live up to what Indiana football's come up to, because it's ironic to say it's pretty much a must-win game against Northwestern, but it's a pretty much a must-win game against Indiana.
Yeah, Jim, I don't know what schedule you're looking at. This is they play tomorrow at 7
Oh,
and at
this
7
is FS1's schedule, so maybe they changed it.
maybe they did because the thing I'm looking at has USC and UCLA tomorrow at 11 and Indiana and Northwestern tomorrow at 7. But
Hmm.
regardless, this is a game that Indiana does need to win. Again, stretch run, they're sitting at 17-10. If you really want any type of tournament chance, you have to surpass that 20 game mark typically. So I don't know what their record looks like in quad one and quad two
Hmm.
in terms of their overall outlook because that's the highest determining factor, especially when you're in these teams that are going to have these similar records. Have they won a couple games against the top teams? Have they proved it out against some of these higher ranked teams, tougher matchups overall?
Hmm.
Um, I can't speak to that, but what I can speak to is they're coming off back to back blowouts against Purdue and Illinois.
Hmm.
They lost by 20 and they lost by 29 to those two teams.
Hmm.
Those are two on the road at top 10, against top 10 teams. But still, when that happens, you have to go out and really with losses like that, you have to go out and you have to win your final games, all of them. And it starts with Northwestern tomorrow.
Yeah. Just to jump back to get an opportunity to see Duke and Michigan play, up close and personal. Man, you cannot be more impressed with Duke. I mean, they just really played a tremendous basketball game against Michigan on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, and it's impressive. We talked about what the game means in terms of
Mhm.
potential line movements. Um, I think that has the potential to maybe move Michigan off that 1 seed line,
Mhm.
move Duke into it. And when I say that, I think that's a situation where you're looking at it and going, you know, Duke still needs to win out, and they need to win
Mhm.
that ACC tournament if they're going to
Right.
take that one line. But if they do, I think that win will put them in a good position for it come
Yeah.
Selection Sunday. Um, yeah, and then Michigan, I it's just I think it's a different level of basketball than they've really played against a
Hmm.
lot of Big Ten. I think the Big Ten has some really good teams. I think it's similar to really the SEC in football this year. I think they have a really
Yeah.
good level, but I just don't think they've got a lot of the same top competition, regardless of the rankings. I know Illinois was ranked high. I know Purdue's been ranked in the top 10. Both those teams are they're good. I just wonder. I just don't think they have the same type of athletes that Duke does. I think Duke's a different tier, and I
Yeah.
think when you're up against that different tier, it proves out things a little bit differently than the level of competition that Michigan's having to play week in and week out in the Big Ten.
Yeah. Well, Duke also had played a much more of a finesse game that I think Big Ten usually physical type basketball, and
Mhm.
the ACC is more of a finesse type, cut and play, that type of thing. They had a lot of backdoor cuts on Michigan. It was like I was watching Princeton play. I mean, they were hitting those passes, for either the dunk or the short layup, and Michigan was totally out of position almost every time that happened.
Yeah, and yeah, stylistically, they don't defend that well. Like when Purdue plays basketball, they try to kind of come at you and run a lot of their stuff out of the post,
Hmm.
and that cutting and slashing style of play and the scheme is a lot harder to defend. And Duke just flat out has better athletes
Hmm.
than some of these teams that they've played. So it wasn't something where you watch it and you go like, oh no, Michigan's in trouble. In fact, if I watched that game and came away with anything other than feeling better about Michigan, I would
Hmm.
be crying. Because I think it's something where you kind of learn from it. Like
Hmm.
there are some really great teams that have lost some games or almost lost some games, and it serves as almost that like wake up effect. And
Hmm.
it could be the same here for Michigan because I'm not sure they played their best game on Saturday, but they
Hmm.
still were in that thing till the very last second
Oh
and
yeah.
arguably could have or should have won it.
Well, if they'd hit any of the threes that they were shooting at, you know, they didn't play well they didn't shoot well from three, and they also missed some easy, some easy shots, and then a couple of ill advised penalties where they
Hmm.
had fouls. So yeah, it'll be interesting when we'll touch on the rankings when they come out a little bit later this afternoon. Um, let's talk a little bit of baseball. Um, some of the things that we found out this weekend from spring training. Pete Alonso took a fastball and put it somewhere not out of Sarasota ballpark and into almost hit the Bradenton. He put that one way out of the park. So Alonso seems to be in good form. Garrett Cole for the Yankees hit 96.9 um, in his first session facing hitters, which, if you're a Yankee fan, that's tells you something right off the bat. And the Dodgers claimed Jack Shawicki off waivers as they continue to put depth on their roster.
Yeah, Garrett Cole hitting 96.9 on the gun is big for Yankee fans, and really that Yankees team, Aaron Boone, Brian Cashman, all of them. That's something where it feels like probably a
Mhm.
little bit of a sigh of relief. Him starting to get some of that velocity back.
Mhm.
He would. I wonder where his like. I wonder if he's going to be able to climb back to that kind of sitting around 98, 99 area
Mhm.
that he once was. I wouldn't bank on it, but I don't think he needs that to be effective. I think sitting around 97, he can have a similar level of effectiveness
Mhm.
that he had prior to his Tommy John surgery. Now, I say similar level because I think, sacrificing of a mile or
Speed.
two of speed on his fastball is something that's going to affect some of the stuff. Like
Mhm.
it will affect it, but it's relatively marginal. when you think about the effectiveness that it would take off. And so, yeah, his ERA may raise, a couple points on the back end or something like that. He may be a little bit easier, and I throw that in air quotes if I had my camera on, um, but quote unquote easier to hit. But it's still going to be Garrett Cole. It's still the same arsenal. That fastball is still going to have the same ride to it. It's just going to be a little bit slower, so some of that ride's going to be missing. So maybe you get a little more contact in the top of the zone, where otherwise hitters would normally kind of swing under those fastballs.
Right. Let's check out some the Olympics now. We all watched U.S. and Team Canada yesterday. That was a phenomenal hockey game.
Yeah, it was. I don't sit down and I watch a lot of hockey. It's just not. It wasn't a sport that I grew up with,
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that. It's not a sport that I've watched a ton. But that was fantastic. It was exciting. It was fun. Like I really enjoyed it. Started like I thought maybe I need to start watching hockey after that game. Was kind of the feeling because it was great. The overtime in that goal. I mean, Canada controlled the puck for both the second and third periods. I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
outshot the U.S. 33-18 throughout the
Mm-hmm.
second and third periods, and I mean, McKinnon missed a wide open net
Yeah.
for Canada. The U.S. got off the hook there, but they played. They did a solid job defending. It felt like they were on their heels a lot. Hellebuck in goal did a fantastic job. I mean, good God, you cannot give him enough credit for his performance. In the write up that we have out on Sports Talk Florida, I
Mm-hmm.
said somebody needs to give him like the Presidential Medal of Honor for his performance yesterday. That was insane because when the U.S. could not get control of the puck and they could
Yeah.
not create any sort of offensive push,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and they were having to defend, and they were in 5-on-3s and
Mm-hmm.
Canada's power plays. They survived all of those, and
Mm-hmm.
large part to Hellebuck. And you also cannot. You go back. You had the Hellebuck stick save, but then McAvoy in the net on one of Canada's late pushes. I think they're in the third
Mm-hmm.
quarter or in the third period,
Yeah.
and he stopped one that got past Hellebuck. He stepped in and was helping him out. He caught the puck, and
Right.
they eventually cleared it. So yeah, I mean, it's a game that if you were going based like just on pure percentages and watching
Mm-hmm.
it, you feel like Canada probably should have won that game. But still, the way things bounced, the way the puck bounced, Canada found a way to lose that game, honestly. And
Mm-hmm.
the US, they got through those two periods, got to that 3-on-3 period,
Mm-hmm.
and I think ending it quick was probably their best chance.
Yeah, and it was the shot was one where it was such a bizarre angle that there was no way the keeper was going to stop because he didn't see it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was was it between the legs, I believe.
Yeah, through the 5 hole.
Yeah. Yeah, I was introduced to that terminology, did not feel comfortable enough using that terminology myself.
It's
Yes.
very common, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. But yeah, it was fantastic, where I was at watching the game, the place
Mhm.
erupted. I mean, there's a genuine love for hockey throughout the United States.
Mhm.
It's typically less talked about and less appreciated until you get to that national stage. Like this is really where, and I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but you want the U.S. to care about hockey, then they just need to play Canada because between the four nations face off last year
Yeah.
and this game this year, it's like those are probably the two most talked about, hockey games, at least in my memory. Like it's been talked about and it's obviously
Mhm.
put on a national stage. But in terms of like the reach of hockey and getting to your more average household, last year's Four Nations face off and this year's gold medal game did did more in terms of the general outreach than I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, the other thing too, and I think it's important to note, is hockey. Myself, for instance, growing up in Florida, I didn't see much hockey, um, And then when I started doing going working on national events, and starting to get NHL assignments, directing the Detroit Red Wings is where I started, which was at that time wasn't a bad place to start. They were That was right when the Russians were coming to play in the NHL. So we used to joke about, obviously the Red Wings uniforms are red and white, so it's like the Red Army has picked the right team to come to play for. But I became a hockey fan, after watching those games and realizing, there's nothing more exciting in, you know, we know one goal wins it, right? In that overtime. And, you're sitting there going on the edge of your seat going, all it takes is one, funny bounce or one, 105-mile-an-hour slap shot. I mean, by the way, the guy who scores the goal gets two teeth knocked out early in the game. So, you know, it's I'll tell you what. If you there's Tom Wilson on Canada. You may seen him put some hits on people.
Hmm.
It was described to me that Tom Wilson is like getting hit by Ray Lewis at full speed, only on ice. Uh,
Jeez.
I mean, he puts more people in the boards, and I see him. Tom plays for the Washington Capitals, and when he's on the ice, he's dangerous. When he's off the ice, he's usually in the penalty box uh, for putting people through the wall. But it's I don't know. To me, if you get good quality hockey to watch, it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch. The other thing is, a lot of people don't realize that those guys, mainly the offensive players, especially the three, the wingers in the center, uh, they rotate in anywhere from 90 seconds to 2 minutes. So that's all they're on the ice. What you don't see, because of the way that TV covers it, is you don't see guys flying off the ice and on the ice, which they're doing all, they're changing all, um, you know, as I said, every few minutes. And so it becomes, for one of these guys, and it mentioned, I think Eddie Olczyk mentioned it a couple times yesterday, that he's going to be out there for a full 2 or 3 minutes. Well, people are thinking like, well, why wouldn't he be out there for because they just don't do that. I mean, they have, it's not uncommon for a good hockey team to have three or four offensive lines, and at least two, maybe three defensive lines. You got 18 players on a hockey team that are dressed, and so and then one other thing of interest yesterday. People forget that's the first medal they won since 1980, which was 46 years ago, to the day, for the
Hmm.
Miracle on Ice. The other thing that is not wasn't really spoken about was that the ice is 20 feet shorter. Uh, so that makes the rink smaller, and it does mean that there's going to be a lot more physical work there, because you don't have as much room to set plays up.
Yeah. Yeah. And the spacing there late, you felt it in that 3-on-3. I mean, you could
Mhm.
feel it. You could feel it in the power plays, just how much having one less person on the ice, one less defender
Mhm.
on the ice, like really affected them, and affected the spacing, which I was really surprised that Canada's goal came in full 5-on-5, given some of the opportunities that they had in that second and third period at different times, and the U.S. was able to really survive those things. Like 5-on-3, with the control that Canada had, especially in that second period, you really expected them to come away with a goal there, and the fact that they did not was
Mhm.
such a big swing point. Um,
Mhm.
And then it felt like it was a big swing point in that third period when they got when Canada had the 4 minute penalty, and you look up
Hmm.
about 6 minutes left on the clock, and you're like,
Right.
man, there's a golden opportunity. And then like a minute into their power play, the U.S. gets penalized, and all of a sudden
Hmm.
now you're in 4-on-4, and on the backside of that 4-on-4, Canada comes out and they have a power play,
Hmm.
and they were able to sustain it through all of that, and eventually made it to overtime. And it almost felt like they were able to kind of reset going into that overtime period.
The interesting thing, what in this situation was normally during a usual NHL game, um, when you get that many power plays, right? One team's going to score. I mean, it's just going to happen, and it didn't happen in the game. I mean, they went 5-on-5 to get to 1-1, and then of course in overtime. Traditionally, I know that some people who are hockey fans know this, but if you don't, um, once you get to overtime, by the way, both teams get a point in the NHL. So each team gets a point, and so the overtime is 5 minutes, and it's 4-on-4 instead of 5-on-5. But because the ice was smaller, they went to 3-on-3 instead of 4-on-4. And if you in Olympic hockey, they would just keep playing until somebody scored. In the NHL, after the 5 minutes, they go to a shootout, which is not what they would have done yesterday. So it was entertaining, and ironically, both the men's and the women's team won their gold medals against against Canada, and both of them won in overtime.
Yeah, and that's you know took really what is Canada's sport, and stole it away, at least for 4 years.
Yeah, and the nice part to me, and I think the best part of it, is these guys play on. John Cooper coached the Canadian team, is the coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Many of these guys who played against each other yesterday will play with each other again this week when hockey gets started back up on Wednesday night.
I wonder how that works in those locker rooms. How it feels to be on either side of that, and is there anything involved that kind of like makes it a little bit awkward in those locker rooms for those split teams?
I think it's kind of more like bragging rights because I mean these guys are used to playing international hockey,
Yeah.
and so and plus remember that a lot of these guys that are Canadian players, they don't really have a Canadian hockey program in colleges up there.
Hmm.
So a lot of them, come to the U.S. and play, um, you know, in in uh, in colleges around the country, predominantly um, in the East. With Boston, in Boston for sure, and that whole Ivy League area up there too. And then of course, the Big Ten. A lot of them go to Michigan. A ton of them go to the Wisconsin schools. So there's plenty of Canadian U.S. Uh, opportunities where they play each other in juniors. They play each other. It's kind of also like soccer, where you will play for a national team, but you're on. You know, everybody's on. Like an MLS team might have two or three kids that play. For their uh, country, but come back and play on the squad, and they're your teammates. So it's kind of like we've got the baseball classic coming up, right?
Hmm.
And obviously the Japanese are going to be tough, the Dominicans are going to be tough, but at the end of the day, when they come back to camp, these guys play on the same team.
Yeah.
So I think it's more along the lines of respect, and I think unless you're on certain teams like the Olympic hockey team, right?
Hmm.
Uh, for the U.S. and for Canada, and international soccer, things like that. Playing for your country means a whole lot to a lot of places. It Olympic sports here in this country, I don't think. I mean, the Olympians, it means a lot to them, but it's not everybody rushes to the TV to watch and has all kinds of great feelings when medals are won.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think that isn't the case in some of these smaller countries where you know everything rides on. They don't even care if you get the medal, right? It's like just get in the top five, get in the top 10. If you hit the podium, man, that's something.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what Norway did in the Winter Olympics, man. They crushed it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost crazy to have a country with a significantly smaller population than some of the others that were
Hmm.
competing dominate in the fashion they did. I mean, they won six more gold medals than the U.S. did, who the
Right,
U.S. came in second in the medal count. So
and that was the
it's
most medals in Winter Olympics that we've ever won.
yeah. So I mean, we gave really what was our best performance, and it was still well short of what Norway was able to put out there.
And I got to give credit. Italy has not really done as well in the Winter Olympics as they did this time around. I mean, they had some really good, you know, medal count. What was it? They were in the top five, I think, in final medal count, which was pretty amazing.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to pull it up and see if I can get the official medal count here.
Mhm. But for the host country, that they did themselves proud. And 2030, it's
Oh,
gonna
they were third. They had
third.
30 medals. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew they were in the top five. I didn't know where they landed because
Yeah.
yesterday afternoon there was still a few more things left to be done before they got to the Olympics, to the final.
Yeah,
Uh,
they
losing
had
some
10
medals.
golds.
Wow,
10 gold, 6 silver, 14 bronze.
that's a pretty good haul.
Mhm.
And 2030, it's going to be in France. So
Yeah. I
up the
will
border, there they go.
I think it's interesting though, you scroll down and like just some of the countries that won, like Kazakhstan and Brazil is really more of the one that sticks out. Like this is the Winter Olympics. Where
Right.
are you practicing the winter sports in Brazil?
Actually, they don't. That's the Brazilian, the guys who represent Brazil. A lot of them spent the entire last couple of years in Europe training.
Oh, well, that will do it. Yeah.
Just there's a lot of things, a lot of mountains in Brazil, but not a lot of mountains with snow on them. So yeah, no, they trained in Europe. I kind of thought it was hilarious to see Snoop Dogg all over NBC's coverage of the Olympics. He was he was so well received in Paris that they signed him up for Italy, and he basically went over and had a good time, um, and had a good time with most of the players that had him there. I thought the bobsled thing. He ran with the he trained, or not trained, but ran some stuff with the Jamaican bobsled team, and that was funny.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that really Snoop Dogg's kind of become NBC's mascot for
You're
the
our brand ambassador, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, because I mean, between they used him and Martha Stewart, and I mean, what better representations of America than those two?
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna touch all possible chances with those guys.
Hmm.
So, anyway, did you get to see any baseball this weekend? Did you see any of your Red Sox?
I did not. I don't have Nesson, so I didn't watch, but I got to catch plenty of highlights
Hmm.
on my Twitter timeline. So that was nice. It's good to have spring training baseball back. It's good to see things that I can either get excited about prematurely or get angry about prematurely as well.
Prematurely, right?
Yeah.
Get it all out of your system before the first pitch of the first game of the season.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, Brian Bayo goes out there and gives up 4 runs in the first inning, and all of a sudden it's like, man, this is great. This is supposed to be his like everybody's kind of banking on him coming out and giving you the same guy, hopefully an improved version. And he carried like a 3.4 ERA last year. So you come out and you're hoping for a little better, and then he goes out there and he gives up 4 to Toronto in his first start in the first inning. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh boy, here we go.
Now, there's a long, long way to go between now and October. So you know,
Yeah, yeah,
overreacting. It's like I know a lot of fans were going, "Yeah, wow, this is great. Pete Alonso, hit the home run. He's gonna be our big bomber for you know for this year, which hopefully for them, yeah, he will. But Pete's a good guy, and I like to see him do well. But you know, one homer does not does not a season make, and especially when it doesn't count and it's in the first inning of a spring training game.
yep, absolutely. Because there, I mean, there are going to be overreactions galore
Mhm.
that come out of spring training. Um, so it's almost fun this time of year just to kind of sit back and watch everybody else. I really indulge in what is the chaos, basically.
I did check out a couple of MLB.TV games. Now that again, the local teams, right? Uh,
Hmm.
the 15 teams that they have now that they local, and the production was fine. I thought the production was fine. I mean, it looked good. I mean, as good as spring training games are going to look. And the announcers were crisp and ready to rock and roll. And so it's summer. It's spring training baseball, and you're going to see a lot of people you're not going to know. And this week we get ready to get started for the World Baseball Classic. So and we'll have some fun stuff with that because we'll be able to tell people what's going on and uh, do some really fun reports as the tournament continues.
Yeah. I will say one piece of information that came out. I can't remember if it was today or yesterday when it came out. I just remember seeing it on my timeline.
Hmm.
Is that Tarek Skubal is only going to pitch one game in the WBC in pool play,
Uh-huh.
um, and that's it. Which I think is I don't know if I have a problem with it. I think I do have a problem with it. I think I need to look at a little more into the way everything works before I fully like solidify my stance on this. But why are you taking that roster spot if you're not going to be there when the team needs you to pitch the more important baseball games instead of just
Hmm.
one game in pool play? I don't get that. I don't like that. I think if you're going to sign up for this, then you sign up for it going into it like knowing, hey, like I'm in this all the way because at that point it feels like you're half baked, like you're
Yeah.
not fully in it. Um, and and I'm sure it's something that the Tigers are probably wanting to push back against. Maybe it's something where they agreed to only let him go one game. I don't know. I just don't like the prospect of going out there and pitching one game. And part of that's because you go back to the last World Baseball Classic team
Hmm.
that the United States fielded, and their pitchers were like Rich Hill and Adam Wainwright. Which
Right.
guys, if you'd gotten them 10 years ago, fine, dandy, good, that's
Hmm.
great. But these guys were on the back end of their 30s and not throwing the ball very hard at that point in time. And so, I mean, that's really what cost them the World Baseball Classic title was their really lack of pitching depth the last time
Let's,
around.
let's compare and contrast this one. We watched yesterday. We just got finished spending about 15 minutes talking about the USA versus Canada. Those were the top players in the league.
Yeah,
And by the way, I'm sure that the Pittsburgh Penguins are real happy that you know that Sidney Crosby got injured, and heaven knows how long he's going to be out with a
yeah,
lower body injury. So you know, but those guys were balls to the wall the entire time. They played tough. I mean, you just look at, like I said, guys get their teeth knocked out in the first period, and the guy ends up scoring a winning goal. Um, it's just crazy that you're either in or you're out. I mean, if you want to play, fine. If you don't want to play, that's okay too. But I think a lot of this has to do with Major League Baseball and the input that the manager, um, the managers and front office people have, saying, "Great, you can play, but you can only play this. You can play for this amount of time." And
Hmm.
you know, I can see it both ways, but you're either gonna if you're not gonna because Otani's gonna play. I bet you that. You know,
Hmm.
and that entire Japanese team and Dominican team, they're gonna have their full complement of players. So
Yeah.
to see what goes. I don't know what Skeens is. I don't think Skeens is on any kind of um, situation where he's on a game count or something like that.
Yeah. And I think it's disappointing because you look at it, Scooble's pitching one game.
Yeah.
Uh, Garrett Crochet declined an invitation to come play in the WBC for Team
Mhm.
USA. So it feels like the US had the ability to field what were probably the three best pitchers in Major
Mhm.
League Baseball,
Yeah.
and they got two of them. One of
Mhm.
them pitching a game, and the other one we think is going to be unlimited in terms of his use
Right.
overall. But it's still a little bit disappointing because you look at it and you're right. Japan's going to be at their full strength. They're going to have all of their pros. The pros want to go play.
Mhm.
A lot of those South American teams are going to be at full strength. They're going to have the pros,
Mhm.
most of them, if they were physically able to play, like if the teams allowed them to play,
Mhm.
um, then they'll be pretty close to full strength as well. I know, like Francisco Lindor is sitting out. There's some big names for the Dominican team that are sitting out, but you know, it's some of it's team oriented, some of it's those guys. From what I saw, I think Crochet's was a personal decision by him. But this is something that they're pushing, this World Baseball Classic, and it puts baseball in a different light on a different stage, and it makes
Mhm.
it exciting, and the fan engagement is better with stuff like this, and yet it still feels like you're getting an incomplete product overall.
Well, you know, the Japanese and the Dominican are more than happy to win the championships if that's the way we're going to play it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, any final words before we get out of here on a Monday?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I meant to, or this happened at the end of last week, and you know, I a little bit partially speculative, but Georgia had two football players that got arrested for reckless driving
Mm-hmm.
towards the end of last week. And I've had a couple people ask me about it and talked about it. And it's something where it by no means or any way, shape, or form am I excusing some of the stuff that has happened.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely been more than enough incidents that have been serious enough,
Mm-hmm.
that have deserved the backlash and the criticism. But sometimes this happens, and people see the headline and they get on their soapbox and they take their stand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's fine, except it's just wrong in this scenario. I mean, these guys posted bail of $26 and $39. What it appears happened is that these are basically just super speeders that for some reason the Athens Clarke County Police Department felt the need to escalate. It feels like they almost have a target on their back because there's an old, like, people who have power or prestige, they sometimes will try to throw it around, say try to get out of a speeding ticket, stuff like that. Man, I don't know if these guys tell these cops that they're Georgia football players and these guys just decide that that means it's time to throw them in jail. But getting arrested and having your bond be 26 and $39, that's not justice. That doesn't feel right or any form of like a true, like, fair assessment of the situations that they've been given. It almost feels like they're being punished for a reputation that this football team has gained. I'm not excusing the super speeder or the way they drove. They absolutely deserve the tickets,
Hmm.
but adding this stuff onto these guys' records and stuff like this, it feels excessive because if any other person gets booked on a $26 bond, you bet your ass that they're going to be pissed, and whoever's coming to bail them out is also going to be real pissed because now they've taken time out of their day to go pay $26 for what would most likely otherwise be just a regular ticket.
Hmm. Well, you know, I can't comment on it because I don't know that much about it, but I'll leave that to you as our Georgia expert on what happens with it. But
Yeah.
true, you.
Well, I think my thing is like people have been painted it out to be a bigger overall culture picture. And I'm not saying that what has happened in Athens is at all excusable.
Hmm.
But I'm also saying that this probably happens a lot of other places. Just the Ole Miss Police Department is not putting these guys in the back of cop cars. They're handing them tickets and they're going home. The Tuscaloosa Police Department is probably handing them a ticket and sending these guys home. I mean, good
Yeah.
God, they had somebody in association with a murder in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, playing on a
Mhm.
basketball court
Right.
shortly thereafter. So, there's stuff like that where it feels like this notion or this public perception of something is a lot more one-sided than people typically give it credit for. You want to make jokes, parody, that's fine. You guys absolutely go ahead. You've earned that. But
Hmm.
these people that genuinely like make these sweeping conclusions about a program or a culture or these guys that play football, like they're kids, they make mistakes, it happens, it's going to happen. And it just feels like it gets escalated by the police department that is residing in that county.
Well, it's a tough situation sometimes, but and most of these are small towns, so it makes it even more difficult.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. Well, anyway, tomorrow, folks, we'll be back on here, and we'll have some basketball rankings, both men's and women's, as we get closer and closer to the NCAA tournament. So some fun stuff tomorrow on the hardwood, and of course, we're not. You know us. We're gonna have to talk baseball, just the way it is. So come back and join us tomorrow. Have a nice day. For Matt, it's Jim. Take care, everybody.